I've known them, a husband and wife team, when they only had one store. Andrew Yap, he's the co-founder and CEO of BookXcess. Big Bad Wolf is the world's largest book sale, and that has gone over to 47 cities across 15 countries. What's a personal value or philosophy that guides your decision-making in life and in business?
I always believe myself as a very giving person. I always like to give, and I always believe that giving more than you receive is something which I try to teach myself every day, and probably be kind when you don't need to be kind. That is one philosophy that I try to embody every day.
Hi, this is Live Confessions Season 3, and I'm Frida Liu. This guest with me today, I've known them, a husband and wife team, when they only had one store. So this is Andrew Yap and Jacqueline Ng, but Andrew Yap, he's the co-founder and CEO of BookXcess, so one little store, and also Big Bad Wolf Books. So they started in 2007 and now has over 20 bookstores in Malaysia and Singapore. Big Bad Wolf is the world's largest book sale, and that has gone over to 47 cities across 15 countries. So you've come a long way, Andrew, right? And I'm so glad to see you again and to be chatting with you. And, we had this conversation years ago, but I'm just intrigued of how you got into this business. And maybe we'll start from the beginning. What was it like growing up? What was your childhood like?
Since this show is about confessions, right, I would say that whatever I say is without prejudice first, before I get into any big trouble.
Right.
Childhood was definitely amazing. Grew up with very lovable parents, but sadly, many setbacks. My dad passed away when I was 9 years old. So my mom had a tough time bringing us up. There were 4 of us.
Right.
Youngest was 2, oldest was 14. We all stayed in school. He didn't leave any insurance, right? So she had 2 jobs just to keep the family going.
Right.
Yeah.
And when you talk about this, did you have a moment or experience that sort of sparked your love for books?
Actually, jump back to the first question, right? My mom had a very weird parenting skill, okay? It's also because she couldn't cope with 2 jobs and 4 kids, right? So she said, do whatever you want to do, just don't get into trouble. Okay. So I played and played and played until I failed my SPM also.
That's when you got in trouble.
Yeah. So to the second question, I think the answer will be yes and no. Books were never in my life. And
textbooks were not in your life.
All books were not in my life. I never grew up with books. I was very fortunate to study in St. John's. At that time, the who's who in Malaysia goes to St. John's. Even Najib went to St. John's, right? Going to a school like that, most of the kids there came from privileged families.
Right.
I'm also mildly dyslexic. So up to standard 3, I couldn't recite my ABCs in order. So can you imagine how tough it was?
And these were not detected back then, right?
Yeah, there's no such thing. If you were just deemed stupid, that's it, or lazy, right? If you can't recite your ABC. So imagine, all the mockery in school and all, and we all have different childhood traumas when we are growing up. Sometimes whether we were bullied or whatever, right? For me, for lack of a better word, I felt very stupid or inadequate.
Okay.
And one thing I realized was a huge difference between kids who grew up with books and those who didn't, because all my classmates who grew up with books, they speak more confidently, they do better in school, their general knowledge is better, their English comprehension is better, everything is just better.
Right. Okay. How did then, I'm going to sort of jump into that and you can sort of tell me the story. The whole entrepreneurial spirit, where did you get that? What got you, into the space of books and business?
I think it all started when I was really young. My dad, his duty was to do the dishes. My mom cooked and he did the dishes, right? So he didn't want to do the dishes. At 5 years old, he would already give me 20, 30 cents to do the dishes at night.
Okay.
And I would gladly do it for that 20, 30 cents. With that money, I would go to the sundry store and buy sweets or, toys. Or those days we had all the tikam things, right? And I realized that if I accumulate more money, I can buy more things. So at a very young age, I was groomed how powerful money is and what you can do with money. Yeah.
And so what sparked you to start BookXcess?
Back to the school days, right? When I never had the opportunity to grow up with books, and I realized how important books were to a child who never grew up with books.
Right.
So fast forward many years later, I was running a workshop. So can you imagine, from repairing cars to selling books? It cannot be any further than that, right?
Well, that workshop, okay. All right, okay.
So running a garage, and someone approached me with the opportunity to sell books, great books at great prices. And I jumped at it because it brought me back to my childhood days that I can finally make a difference, because I just felt that if kids like me were to grow up with books, I think Malaysia or the world would be a better place.
Right. Okay. So this is very interesting, right? Because what intrigued me, of course, when I first went to the first bookstore, your business model and extremely affordable books. And I'm like, can make money, right? I mean, but so you said someone gave you this opportunity. What made you think that this was something that could work?
Because if you notice the global book industry, books are not affordable or accessible to probably 91% of the global population. And currently the book industry only sells, to the 3 to 5% of the population. And I felt that 91% is totally untapped.
Right.
Can you imagine if you have currently the book industry is already a huge industry, right? And that's just tapping on that 3 to 5%. Imagine if you can tap into the 95%. And also, I always had the confidence that this would do well, because if we were to do what we do today, because we only sell English books, right?
Right.
If you try to take millions of books in
Different
Indonesia,
languages.
let's say, or Bangkok, Jakarta or Bangkok 20 years ago, they wouldn't want it.
Right.
But today, English has never been so important to the world. It's not the most widely spoken language, but I would say that in 100 years' time, English should probably be number one.
Oh, is it? I think it is really number one.
I think number one is
Chinese.
Spanish.
Oh, Spanish. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Now, when you wanted to do this as well, right? I was just thinking, trying to the whole business with ebooks, and I'm sure I had this conversation with you earlier on. That hasn't affected the sale of books, obviously.
No. In fact, the future is really bright, and I would say that books will probably be the biggest trending thing in the next few years.
Right.
Because as we get more technologically advanced, I think we're all just going crazy. With the advancement in AI and tech, and our whole world is just so digitalized. We need to switch off. And a lot of kids nowadays are going into books. TikTok is one of the biggest social phenomena recently, right? And who hangs out in TikTok? All the kids. And I'm sure you heard of BookTok. And BookTok is literally moved the needle in the book industry for the last few years. It raised the sales for books, I think, almost 20-30% globally. Right. And it's the kids who are driving BookTok.
Okay.
Yeah.
I want to talk about highs and lows. Let's talk about the highs, right? A moment when you felt most fulfilled in your journey with these ventures, BookXcess and also Big Bad Wolf. I'm sure there are many moments, but one, I guess, significant moment.
I think probably going to Africa. Africa was an amazing time for us as we were growing up. Why Africa?
Yeah.
Of course, I didn't know much about Africa. The moment we had the opportunity to do Africa, I didn't care what odds there were. I just wanted to do it. When we were growing up, we always hear about poverty in Africa. Parents always told us, finish your food. There's children starving there and all, right? And we are a mission-based business.
Right.
And so I felt that if we could make a difference in the world, Africa would be one of the places that we would like to go to. And it came a lot sooner than I expected. One thing that really resonates to me was what Nelson Mandela said many years ago, and it always stuck in my head. He said that, education is the most powerful weapon to change a nation, right? And I believe that a single book itself is an education if you put it in the right kids' hands.
Right. Okay. Now I want to talk about the lows, right? What are the biggest challenges you faced in the early days of BookXcess? How did you overcome them? And also leading up that, I guess, even right now, What are the challenges that you have now? Let's go back to the early days.
This is an interesting question. Big Bad Wolf would not be where we are today if not for all the complaints that we have in the beginning days. Because when BookXcess started, many bookstores were not happy with what we are doing. We are basically the disruptor in the book industry here. And when we did our first, there was already noise when BookXcess started. When we did our first Big Bad Wolf sale, it was tiny, but the impact was there. All the bookstores would complain, and they realized that if they individually complain, it wouldn't make a difference. So they grouped together, complained all the way, to publishers in UK and US that they couldn't support it. If they support us, they will stop buying books from them.
Right.
At the end of the day, when we started, we were only buying surplus books. Currently, today, we are also printing and creating books or print runs together with publishers. But back then, we were very dependent on the surplus books. So they told us that, hey, we can't support you. Our main business is to sell the full price books. And if everybody's complaining, then, we can't do this. So we were very disheartened because we were not profitable in the early days. We were just doing it, out of our love for making Malaysia a better place, getting people to read more. So we, instead of giving up, we took a flight, went around the world to get support from publishers and distributors globally, told them our story, and they supported us. So that gave birth to the world's biggest book sale because I wanted to do something so huge here just to shut everybody up.
Right.
Yeah. So back in 2011, we did the world's biggest book sale in Kuala Lumpur with the support of a lot of publishers and distributors globally.
Right, as what Michelle Obama said, right? When they go low, you go high, right? Were they can you share a mistake you made along the way and how it shaped you, I guess, as a leader?
I would say growing too fast.
Okay,
because I was leading the charge, right? 2015 to 2019, can you imagine we were doubling our revenue every year on year? So you look at the pace, right? From 30, 40 million turnover to almost 200 million in just a few years. And due to my lack of experience, I never worried about having a runway just in case there's any issues or problems that we will face. And the pandemic came, right? COVID-19, that literally, we almost went bust.
Right.
And
the floods.
Yeah, and the floods. So imagine surviving COVID,
right?
Almost still on our knees, and we had the flood, right? And but we didn't give up, and we just persevered on. So now moving forward, I'm smarter in the sense where I watch the margins more, so that we could live to fight another day.
Okay.
Yeah, and hoping to build a better runway as we go along. We are still in recovery mode. Still a lot of work to do, but I think we are in a better space today compared to before the pandemic.
Right. And I guess with this, what you're trying to do is also constantly being innovative, right? So what do you feel has been the most innovative strategy you've used to grow your audience?
I think that will be the pricing. Our pricing strategy is very different. Most businesses would price at the point where the market would accept. Whereas because we are a mission-based business, we price it as low as possible, just enough to survive.
Okay.
Right? We didn't care whether you were happy to pay 15 ringgit for a book.
Okay.
You will happily pay for it, even though the book is 40, 50 ringgit out there.
Yeah.
And you would pay 15, but we will still sell it at 12. So that was the mentality that we had, and we built a cult following because of that.
Right. Okay. And okay, let's talk about working with the team, growing and everything, right? Obviously, it started with the husband and wife, small team. How do you motivate and inspire your team, especially during the tough times, that period?
I guess it's a lot to do with the mission. And I don't really have to motivate the team. It's our customers that is motivating them. They feel that the feedback that we get from customers who always leave us comments of how we have changed their lives or how we have helped them, and they know it's a mission-based business. When they go to the countries that we go to, like Africa, and they can see for themselves the difference that they make. Most the team members, most of them, they join us because of the mission.
What qualities do you look for, when building your team, and why?
I think heart is more important. I mean, our line, right? Heart is more important than qualifications, because it's not easy doing what we do, especially being a mission-based business. So we need world champions out there. We tend to somehow get applicants that come in, right? And they already know what we stand for, and they just want to make a difference. So it helps that way. But the issue is whether they can go the distance is another thing. Yeah. So resilience is something which we look out for also.
Okay. Any stories of team success, that makes you proud?
I think two really big ones for me would be going to Africa. Like I mentioned, we didn't really care the odds, right? We just wanted to do it. I was very surprised that in the midst of doing it, it was really, really tough. Africa is brutal in every single sense.
Okay.
Right? Up to the point where, can you imagine, we were setting up the hall, and there were hundreds of people just clinging on to the gates.
Okay.
There, right? Looking for a job. Right? And they said that, just give me a meal. That's all I want.
Wow.
So imagine the worry, the security, and everything in Africa is not funny. I mean, poverty there is really real, right? We managed to finish the event, and definitely we'll go back to Africa again. It was quite an amazing experience, and a lot of lessons learned. We'll come back bigger and stronger there.
Okay.
The other one would be, one of our biggest success was Jakarta 2019, where we collected 38 million ringgit in 10 days.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was our peak, and it's something which we are building to repeat successes like that again.
Right. Okay. Have you overcome your dyslexia? I guess, what's a book you've read recently that profoundly impacted you, and why?
I think two books which I always read and reread. So I would say it's also quite recent. One is Oprah Winfrey's Wisdom of Sundays.
Okay.
Yeah. And why is because one of the contributors there talk about, everyone's pain should be our pain. We shouldn't be passing by the street and looking at someone in trouble and thinking that, hey, that's not my problem.
Right.
It should also be our problem. And the other one is this particular book. It's called Way More Than Luck.
Okay.
It's commencement speeches from the top universities in US. And Michael Lewis, one of the authors, he mentioned that we owe a debt to the unlucky, right? Look at the both of us and everyone here, and even the listeners. We are so fortunate.
Yeah.
Right? We have a roof over our head, we have food, we have family, we have friends, but there's so many out there who are a lot less fortunate.
Yeah.
And we actually owe a debt to them, right?
Right. Okay. If you were not in the book business, what would you be doing? Still with the bookshop?
No. I would definitely be in the car industry.
Okay.
Because I'm obsessed with cars.
Okay, the car industry.
Driving, yeah.
Okay. And I guess, how do you see BookXcess and Big Bad Wolf contributing to culture reading globally? Now you're going to Africa. How else do more countries in Africa?
Definitely more countries in Africa and the MENA region. This year, we have added probably another 10 cities. We are going to Saudi Arabia in 10 days' time.
Right.
In December this year. Next year, Egypt. We're doing Cairo. We have a goal in about 10 years from now to sell 1 billion copies of books globally.
Okay.
Copies, right? And if we can achieve that, I believe that the world would have changed. The sad reality is that books are not affordable and accessible. UN's SGD plans are really amazing. We all know that the world needs to get better, needs to change.
Good education.
But it was, at least they came out with something that everyone could work towards too.
Yeah.
And it says that currently almost 10% of the world is in poverty, right? Extreme poverty. By 2050, we'll reach 10 billion in population. If nothing changes, 30% of the world will be in extreme poverty.
Wow.
It still won't affect us. We will still be fine, right? But can you imagine? No one cares. We are just too comfortable. So I believe that if we can achieve our goal in moving 1 billion copies globally, because there's no one doing what we do,
Right.
It's become a responsibility on us. And I feel that if we can achieve that, we have played a big part in, getting the poor out of the cycle that they go through.
Right. How do you decide on which, like you say, Egypt, Jeddah, and all that? How do you decide which part, and of course in Africa, which country? What kind of research do you do into that? Or is it like?
I think it always a lot of it based on the partners that approach us, right?
All right.
And they are willing to help as much as possible. Of course, it's also important how large the population is. The bigger the population, the easier for us to go in. But it's still not the main factor. The main factor is what kind of support that we are getting in that particular country. Because what we do globally, every country needs it. Whereas be it a first world country or a developing or third world country.
Right. So, when you look at the books that's being sold by you guys, what's most popular?
Definitely the children books.
Okay.
Because you and me, how much time do we have to read, right? And it's mainly because of technology. So previously, when we left home, we probably got 5 things to do.
Right.
Now we got 100 things to do. It doesn't end, right? Whereas kids today, they have all the time in the world.
Right.
And it's very important to get kids to learn how to read properly. Reading is a skill. And reading physically minus technology, whether reading from a tab or a gadget, right? They are just so distracted. So they need to learn the skill of reading properly, how to read deep, how to reflect.
Right.
Whereas if they're reading from a tab, they're just so distracted. They just can't wait to get over it and check out, all the games and what they can do with it. It's just like why we can't. It's very hard to read from our phone or a gadget, and we might not have the latest books. We are in a very different space of the industry. But there is no such thing as latest ABC or 1, 2, 3.
Yes.
The next 5,000 years, it will still be ABC 1, 2, 3.
Right.
Right. So parents around the world, they know the importance of books, physical books for kids.
Right.
And books are part of an education system. So a lot of parents, when they come to the event, they probably buy 1 or 2 books for themselves or 5 books, right? But they will buy at least 30 to 50 books for the kids for the whole year.
So when you know that children's books are the top seller, was it by design or by default as well? Because you also want to get parents to buy more books for their kids and all that, or was it requests?
Definitely by design.
Okay.
One of the reasons why we came up with the name Big Bad Wolf is for the kids. Because kids we needed to get kids to fall in love with the brand, to fall in love with reading. We needed to make reading cool. And children can only relate, to a character. It's hard for them to relate to a name like ABC Books.
Yes.
But what character is also very important. If you come up with something that is cute, you're going up against Disney. You come up with superhero, you're coming against Marvel.
Yeah.
And currently the last generation of kids, they grew up with all this.
Yes.
The Big Bad Wolf is something new to them.
Right.
Parents know about it because, the classic story tales, fairy tales and all. So it resonates with the parents and it's new to the kids. We will always remember all the bad things that happen. And every story, there will always be an incident or something bad that happens. Even a romantic story will always have some kind of a drama, right? Yeah. So it's a name that is very easy to remember.
Right.
Yeah. So we started with children in our minds from the very beginning. And like I mentioned before, it's a mission-based business. And if you want to make a difference in Malaysia and in the world, start with the kids.
Like somebody would come to, whether it's BookXcess or the sale, right? How much would a person spend on average?
Typically, if they were to go to a normal bookstore, they will be buying what they need or a book they are looking for.
Yeah.
So 1 or 2 books.
Yeah.
When they come to BookXcess, it's easily 4 to 6 books. Also another reason not to just buy for themselves, but buy as a gift.
Yeah.
A lot of our customers buy books as gift because of the price. And for the sale, it's almost 15 to 30 books
Okay.
per
So
customer.
they buy the box, right? Do you still do that? I remember
We,
once
we, we
upon
do
a
the
time,
box sale
right? Yeah.
every once a year just to clear our odds and ends and scratch and dents.
It's like how many you buy the box and how many books you can fill in there.
It's the craziest thing out there. Almost 100 ringgit for a box.
Yes.
And if you know how to fit the box well, you can get almost 80 books in a box.
Right.
It's literally free.
And how many books have you sold to date?
Globally, we sold more than 100 million books.
Wow,
Today.
100 million. So, okay, right. And I guess just a couple, in terms of your philosophy and mission, right? What's a personal value or philosophy that guides your decision making in life and in business?
I always believe myself as a very giving person. So, I always like to give, and I always believe that giving more than you receive is something which I try to teach myself every day. And the blessings will come in ways that you never expect. And probably the other one would be to be kind. Be kind when you don't need to be kind.
Right.
I think that is one philosophy that I try to embody every day.
Right. Anything else you want to add on, Andrew, that I have not asked you?
I would say, ask me this question a few years from now. What would be the greatest achievement from this whole thing that we are trying to do is trying to win the Nobel Prize for Literature.
Okay. Watch this space. So what was that again? 1 billion books by?
In 10 years' time.
In 10 years' time. So that's
Annually.
Annually
Yeah.
in 10 years' time. And so, okay, also watch this space. Thanks for spending time with us. Of course, this is Life Confessions Season 3. I'm Frida Liu. And of course, I've been speaking to Andrew Yap from BookXcess and Big Bad Wolf Sale.